MEST, and we just had the data come out for, let's see here. Oh, let me turn this volume down here. All right, good. We had the data come out for consumer confidence, University of Michigan, I believe. Let's see. No, retail sales. So yeah, the retail sales data came out, and it came out strong. So meaning that the indication is that the U.S. economy is still strong, at least according to these data, and that is going to basically. Let me see here. Well, this is actually reacting as if the dollar is going to be strong. And so more hikes. Yeah, that seems right. So if the US economy data comes out strong, the implication is that there will be more hikes in the dollar, which means dollar strong, or at least higher for longer. Maybe not more hikes, but definitely like wait for cuts. That's the implication, right? So that's how the market reads it. So we're going to see a push down in anything that is traded against the dollar in the charts, and that might be a little bit temporary. What'll probably happen is everything will resume course once it retraces and the data is digested by the market. So that's what we have for data, and it just now came out, so that's why I'm starting the show with this. Today is a big day. We got the gorilla coming on here shortly. In about 30 minutes, he has major drips today. So drips, for anybody who is new to this channel on YouTube, the View the Gorilla is he's pretty big in the world of like finance, does deals with billionaires, things like that, and his financial intel is top rate, and so he will share with us a lot of the information he gets from on high, so that we can take advantage of what might be happening in the long term trends. Now, I've been following Gorilla myself. I've been working with him since I think like 2018, 2017, and I've been following him since like 2015. So, long history of being correct. And the way I put it, and this is a term I think I've coined. Not, I've never heard anybody else say it, but he's at least 80% right, 80% of the time, and that's damn good in the world of finance. When you're 80% right, 80%, better than that, because he's better than that. Long story short, his information comes from on high, and it only is going to be released here on Algo Factory in our private show. And so to have access to the private show, that ends after this beginner live lab. The beginner live lab that you're watching right now, that's Monday through Friday with the exception of federal holidays. And we do that at 8:30 a.m. EST. And then after that, we go into the private group where we do a little bit more advanced concepts, although beginner concepts are completely welcome in that group. It's just that the first half hour is limited to beginner questions, and it's also intended for the general public to come on in and ask questions, although our members do have a priority on those questions. So QR codes at the bottom, zap that to get to our website. You can see the website on there, algofactory.tech. Let's jump into the content, and I'll flash that QR code towards the end once more, and the website, so you can take that down in the case you want to come join us, okay? But it is algofactory.tech. That's our website. Okay, so here's the screen share. I'm going to share now, and then I'm going to zoom in so everybody can see what's going on. And we'll look right at the data first so I can show you what I was just talking about. All right, so interesting in the charts, I had gone long on the Swissy last night, and it actually went against me for the whole night, and it looked like it should have gone in my direction, and it did not. And the charts could have gone either way. It just, it was a trade that seemed to be going against me. These things happen. It doesn't matter how good your trading method is. Oftentimes, a trade will simply go against you. It's just part of the game. And I'm beginning to think it was a windup so that the data this morning could be taken advantage of. We're going to talk about that in the charts, right? Because these are the kind of things that happen when you're trading. What happens is oftentimes your method of trading, which is also known as an algorithm, right? And again, don't get scared. You hear the word algorithm. It doesn't mean you have to be some kind of programmer. You don't need to know code. An algo merely is a method by which you do anything that is conditionally based. So trading is, hey, if this happens, then you do that. If that happens, then you do that. That's all an algo is, and that's all traders do. I don't know a single trader that does not trade with algorithms. So that's that. And a lot of times your algo points out a trade, and you enter that trade, in good faith and they go against you. And that actually happens a fair percentage of the time. So, what we do here at Algo Factory is we help people develop that trading method and then they go back and they test it to determine what percentage of the trades win, right? And there's a few other things that we do to tip the odds in our favor. And sure, you might lose 30, 40, sometimes even 50% of your trades, but because you have the odds and the trade size all tipped into your favor, you can oftentimes, depending on your method of trading, you can lose half your trades or even more than half and still be profitable. It just depends on how you have everything set up. So, nobody wins all their trades. Never seen it before. Probably never will. I'd say virtually impossible. That said, what we're looking at data wise here, back to the data itself, what just came out here at 6:30 my time, which is 8:30 EST. On the bottom here, I'm highlighting on the bottom the core retail sales data, right? So what happens here is that you have these statisticians and they take these surveys and these surveys gather data as to the strength of a lot of different things. In this case, it's going to be retail sales. And according to this, the expected percent gain, I think it's it's month over month for the retail sales was 0.3%, and the expected gain for core retail sales was 0.2. Now, 0.2 was eclipsed by the actual number 0.6, and 0.3 was eclipsed by 0.7. So we're seeing more than a 50, more than a 100% gain on both. And in fact, in core retail, we're seeing a 300% over expectation. And we have a 200% for the retail. Now, these numbers can be fudged and oftentimes are, and that's okay, fine. We don't care about when you have to be more or less amoral. You have to set aside your cynicism in markets. Okay, sure, these numbers could be fudged. Maybe they are, maybe they're not. What matters is making money in markets, and whether or not they are fudged is irrelevant. What matters is how the market will react to these numbers, right? And in this case, if I roll over to the chart, you're going to see, like for the euro, let me go ahead and explode this screen a little bit so you can see it. Give me 1 second. Now, what we're looking at is a chart where each one of these candles is 5 minutes worth of price action. And you can see this big long candle, excuse me, that is when the data came out. This is in a 5-minute chart. In fact, it might be better to illustrate based on the 1-minute chart. Excuse my throat clearing. Let's go here. All right, so here's the 1-minute chart. We're getting very granular on this data. Give me 1 second. Okay, so getting to that time of year when I got that frog in my throat. It's probably an allergy thing. My allergies have gotten so much better. My wife has really helped me out with it from a nutritional standpoint, made all the difference in the world. Somebody who grew up having to take allergy medicine, I do not have to take it anymore, but occasionally I get a little frog in the throat. And when you are somebody who talks online for a part of your living, that can get in the way. All right, so all of that is here. All of the movement, back to the subject here, that long bar down, that long candle, that's the announcement bar, right? That's the data coming out. And I personally don't trade news. There's a million videos on this. If you go to our YouTube channel, you can see all the reasons why I don't trade news over and over again. Lots of conversations. But essentially, people just get wrecked trying to trade the news. Like if they get into a trade before the news comes out, oftentimes there's just a lot of wackiness that happens in the charts. And we're not going to get into the technical aspect of that, but suffice it to say, it's easy to get wrecked doing that. So I wait for the news to happen. And then I use my algos, which you can see right here with all those indicators there on the bottom. I use those as the market shock fades to help me determine what's going to happen next. And I can determine what happens next depending on the algorithm to a pretty high statistical degree. Some algos are like, 65%, but then I have these massive risk to reward where sure, it's not as high of a risk. I mean, it's not as high of a hit as I like. Like I'd rather hit in the 80 percentile, which is freaking godlike. But then again, I can have massive risk to reward where I'm risking $1,000 to make 3 or 4,000, right? So, and then, I even have one algo that's sitting at like below 50% hit. It's hitting at an 80% or even higher hit rate, but then my risk to reward is inverse, meaning that I'm risking $1,000 to make like 600. but I'm winning so often that that makes sense, right? And then I have algos that, I mean, I might win 50% of them, but or even less, but you're looking at like a 7 or 8 to 1 risk to reward. So there tends to be a trade-off on that. And so what we do here at Algo Factory is we kind of, well, at least what I do, if you have an algo that can trade the news, trade it. I'm not saying anything about do this, do that. We don't give investment advice. We let you do your own thing. We just tell you how to build it, right? So we actually give you the nuts and bolts on how to build the algo. And if you got a way to trade the news, I say, by God, trade it. If you can be successful with it, if you can test back on it. I don't have that good of success with news. I hang back from it. But long story short, that's what we do. And in this case, this is that big news event right here. Looking back in the past 5 minutes or so, since the show has started, it's about 10 minutes in, and it's just been a plunge downward as the dollar gets stronger and the euro gets weaker. So my Swissy trade, we'll take a look at that. Let me bring out the panel. Don't don't let the screen cross your eyes. That's a lot of data on the screen, but it's going to get cleaned up real quick. So give me just a second. All right, so we're just going to take a quick look at the Swissy. So yeah, last night I got into a trade. Oh, it was around midnight. So around here, and price looked like it was going to go up, and it did. And I had taken more of a swing trade position, and had I actually got out of it as the news came out because the news put me way back into profit, and I said, you know what, I'm out. But the trade looked something like this. Um, let's see here. It looks something like this. I had a nice little risk to reward on it. It was nothing too extravagant, but it looked like this. And price went in my direction for a time, and then it went out, but it was nicely protected. I had a stop loss that was well placed. And as the news came out, price started going in my direction. And so I just got out of it because once the news hits, I mean, everything was getting wonky on the charts and the news hit. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to let this pass. I'm looking for a new entry. So I was able to get out unscathed on that one. So, and this, a lot of time, that's just how things work. Like you just have to, you gotta, if something goes that far against you, then you got to be willing to adapt. And trading in general, just got to be willing to adapt. That's for sure. So give me a second here. All right. Just looking at some other trades here. Okay. All right. So, had I stayed in, obviously I'd be in more profit. I'd be about in the same profit as I reached last night at the peak while I was sleeping. And that just happens again. This is what I find interesting though, is that I entered the trade here on the left, right about somewhere around here. It was just like right after midnight. So it was actually more like there. And as I entered it, everything was looking good. And then price started going against me in a bit of an unexpected way. Now, it can be that, the charts just, I mean, look, things go against you. That's life. However, I do think it might have been a wind up just to allow for the news to get someplace, to push price in a direction. Because these news events are used by large banks, large players to manipulate the price and make a lot of money, right? So if price wanted to go up in general, right? And they knew, whoever knew that the news would push price up, in this case being the USD versus the Swiss, right? So the dollar comes first, USD CHF. So the dollar is going to be strong and things will go up. If they had an idea that that data was coming out like that, then basically it would behoove them, if possible, to push price down using algorithms, money, news, whatever. And then once, position themselves before the news came out and then have price go in their direction again. And if price wanted to go up, then pulling it back down, it might cost a little money, but then kind of holding that cork underwater, but then, letting it go is going to make them so much more because basically they can tell the future, right? So that might be what happened. And again, had I kind of stuck with my guns, I would be in profit right now. But you know what? I took the safer route, and I figure I'll let the algos form back up. You know what I mean? I'll let everything get back to where it needs to get. Okay, so Pretty quiet in the chat, not seeing anybody talking in the YouTube. I know some people are watching. Let's see if anybody's chatting over in. Yeah, no, super quiet today. Um, so we're halfway through this show. What I'll do is I'm going to roll over and take a quick look at Bitcoin. Let me see something real quick. Okay, so no indicators on top here. That's fine with me. I might add, let's do this. I'm going to add a little structure of data to the chart here and expand that through the rest of this. Okay, so, okay. And then let me adapt that. I'm just going to, while we're on here, I'm just going to go ahead and just do a couple of static things. Okay, good. All right, well, let's roll over to the Bitcoin and see what it looks like. This is gold. You know, we talked about gold, but let's roll over to the Bitcoin chart. The Bitcoin, BTCUSD. Over on Binance. We'll take a look at it. Oh, you know what? We're going to go back to Link, actually. Let's continue yesterday's discussion on Link. Chainlink. So on Chainlink, I think I looked at it on Binance. Let's see. Let's see if my drawings are on this one. Drawings. My name is Simon, and I like to do drawings. All right, so here it is. KuCoin. Yeah, it's on KuCoin. Pretty sure where I did my drawings. All right, so I was looking at it yesterday. We actually assessed this, I think, during the private lab. And one of the things about Link I'm seeing on, dude, crypto Twitter is all right. You got some good stuff on there, but what I've learned personally about crypto Twitter is like you really got to use your own information. You can't just rely on other people. I have been correct where crypto Twitter and some really good people on there have been incorrect so many times that I have just learned to trust my own instincts and ignore crypto Twitter. And it's been very profitable doing that. I mean, look, if I see something on crypto Twitter that I like, I'm not going to just ignore it, but you know, it's going to be because it fits in my assumptions, right? It's going to be like, okay, I see this happening on my charts, and what this person says, there is confluence to it. Okay. Quick break from the discussion. Please like, subscribe, follow if you're watching this on YouTube now or later. The likes and all that stuff that helps us out, right? And I'm going to go ahead and I forgot to share the link. Give me 1 second. We're going to see if we can bring a few people in from Rogue. I know it's halfway through, but who cares? Okay, let's see here. So yeah, I mean, so crypto Twitter, I saw some pretty good, one in particular, really good trader, like making comments about how, oh yeah, well, Link has broken the downtrend. And I talked about this already, but they had this like old school look on, like using a diagonal, right? So going from the top back in 2021 and just kind of following these diagonals. But here's the problem with that. Like, okay, what diagonal are you going to use? Right? There's this diagonal, there's that diagonal, which comes across 3 different tops. You can always have this diagonal. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not saying it doesn't work, but where do you draw your diagonal? Like, it's just there are instances where diagonals matter, especially if you're trading triangular patterns, because it's part of a triangular pattern. And triangular patterns do have a backtestical statistical degree of probability. But in this case, I'm like, Link ain't breaking no downtrends. All right. So here's the thing about it. And I said this in the private, and I will say it again. I've said this 4 times in the last week with all these crypto Twitter moon boys. Link. Just because you made a bunch of money on Link in 2018 and Link maybe made you a millionaire doesn't mean that it's going to do it again. And this is really important, everybody. Like, don't get married to a coin or a stock or anything. I mean, look, I'm not telling you what to do. All right. I'm going to say what I do and what I don't do. And I certainly don't get married to any asset. Now, I do believe things like gold and Bitcoin, I think they have a future. I put profits into such things. But that doesn't mean that I think it's going to save the world. And I don't think it's like, I don't go, doing that kind of thing. Um, it's just how it is. Like there was a project in crypto early on that I really liked, and it ended up that the guys who were running it were fraudsters. And when I figured that out, I went ahead and showed everybody, hey, I don't like this. I'm out of it. So I got no love for no coin, no love for no stock. I don't care if it made me a billionaire. I mean, I'll love it, but it doesn't mean that I think it's going to go up today because it went up yesterday. And in this case, Link is it's not breaking any downtrends. It's in a downtrend, right? You're having lower highs and lower lows, right? So you got this high, this one's lower, that one's a little bit lower, this one's lower, that one's lower, this one's lower, right? With some exception, but very little, you have lower highs and lower lows, right? This low, you have this low, that's lower, you got that low, that's lower. Perhaps the next low will be lower. This one's a little higher, but in the end, right now, I'm seeing a pretty steady downtrend, if anything. And you could also look at this as a range, which is the box that I drew, which is how I would trade it. So if I were trading this, I would wait for price to approach the bottom of this range box and then look for a long. It might deviate, but then I have algos that can, as you see in the bottom of the screen here, I have algorithms that can kind of give me a clue and say, okay, I think, this little mini downtrend is over and it's at the bottom of the range. So there's a high probability the price will come back up. But I got no love from a fundamental standpoint for, in a trading aspect, right? Like there's cryptos I think have a future and I invest in them and I hold them. And those of you in the private chat or even those who watch this show regularly know the one in particular that I like, that I hold a fair amount of. However, in this case, Link, yeah, it's great. Sure. If I'm going to invest in Link, I'm waiting until it dips, right? I'm going to wait, not buy it at 750. I'm going to let it try to wait for it to get down to 540 or lower. And that's if I'm just going to buy it. If I'm going to trade it, then I'll still wait till it gets down there and then take a small move up. Okay. So that is my thoughts on it though. I'm not married to Link. I don't see any downtrends being broken. And when it comes to crypto Twitter, I'm not mentioning any names here, but that's just one of the times where I'm like, dude, what are you even talking about? I don't see any downtrends being broken at all. And maybe I'm mistaking. Maybe I'm thinking that the guy was talking about Link and it was something else. But long story short, this isn't a pattern. And I don't think it's going to change until maybe April or May of next year, or perhaps August of next year. And that is probably going to be the case for like almost all of the cryptos. Like, I see crypto maybe going up a little bit this month, as we've seen it, and that might only apply to certain cryptos. But overall, I think sometime in November, we'll see like a low. And this is just pretty typical of crypto in the 4-year cycle. There's a 4-year cycle. It all still follows that due to Bitcoin's halving. So compression through November, and then just like a crypto winter through say January. Price can head back up. It might happen slowly, it might happen at all. But that's what I see. And then of course, we have the halving in May, probably. That's the estimated time for the halving is in May of 2024. And most crypto, most likely Bitcoin and probably a lot of other crypto will have like a little bit of a move up, probably a cool off after the halving as everybody sells the news. And then in maybe July or August, I think we really go back off to the races and we start to approach that next all time high in Bitcoin. And I think the next all time high in Bitcoin is going to be probably between 80,000 and maybe 120,000. And it could be like anywhere in there. It's hard to say. And as that happens, of course, the rest of crypto will follow it, because here's what that looks like on the left-hand side of this chart. September of 2020, halving was in like kind of mid 2020. And I'll show you this. Let's go to an older chart. See what that looks like. And then we're going to probably hop over to the private session. All right. So, and I did hear from the gorilla here right at 6:30-ish. Let me know he's, 8:30 EST. Let me know he will be on to do the drips. But here's what happens during a halving year, right? So 2020 was a halving year. Halving happened, I believe, in May, as it usually does. So January, February, March, April, May, something like here. And now it was kind of an individual scenario, a little bit. In 2019, which is kind of where we are now, in like the year before the halving year, I'm going to zoom in here just to show you the trend because this happened, mostly with Bitcoin, but all the alts followed. That's just how things work still in crypto. You had the Uptober, right? They call it Uptober, so price went up during October, as we will trace with the uh, thing here. Oh yeah, Lisa, anytime. Anytime, Lisa. Hope to see you in there if you're not already. I'm having a hard time remembering if you're in Algo Factory, but yeah, it's this is like I'm just giving stuff out for free, everybody. So, we do a little bit of that here. So, September, so at the end of September, you have October. So you had Link itself following the upward trend that usually happens in October with crypto. Bitcoin almost always goes up. It's like 9 out of 10 Octobers are bullish for crypto and especially for Bitcoin. So that's what that looks like with this arrow in October. And then it actually floated up nicely. And then November, you had this real hard descent. And the bottom was actually in December, halfway through December. You had the bottom in crypto again. Now, 2020 was special. You had the COVID crash, lasted, in this case for Link, it lasted about a week and a half. So about 12 days, almost 2 weeks. In the rest of the markets, it was like a 5-week situation. So yeah, that was that brought price down to the September or December lows. Okay, that was unique. Generally, you just have price kind of slowly moving up through the beginning of the year, and then the halving here, you have like a pop up at the halving, and then you have a cool off period. So, the halving's May, you have a sell off, price dips a little bit in the summer, as it often does. And then here at the end of June, in this case, in July, off to the races, right? Hard off to the races. Link went from $4 and by the time it was the end of August or mid-August, price had gone up to $20, right? So it multiplied by 5. And then by the end of the 4-year cycle, price topped out at $53. So you had a move from like $3.70 at the halving, or you could use the December bottom. I don't want to use the COVID because that's a bad example, but the December bottom was something like $1.50. So you went from like $1.50 or $2 all the way up to like $53. And I'm not saying that's going to happen again, but it has happened like that for like 3 halvings. So there isn't really any reason for it not to happen aside from like a black swan event. Okay. So I always have to make room for black swan events. Nothing happens the same way every time forever. It just usually happens the same time most times, the same way most times. So if we do have a black swan, then all bets are off, and all my investment in whatever I've been investing in, say, for example, some precious metals and certain cryptos, those may end up paying off at that time because, I do take my gains and I put them in hard assets, and that is included in that is like preps and stuff like that. So, that's the game, right? Yeah, Lisa, whenever you're ready, hop on in. Just so you know, Lisa, you don't, and this goes out to everybody. I'm gonna put the QR code up there. You can, find us here at the website. Website's written on the screen, algofactory.tech. You have the QR code right there. A lot of people are thinking, oh, well, I need to have money to trade, right? Okay, here's the way this works. When you become a trader, and if you're gonna do what I did, well, if you're gonna do what I would have done if I knew what I was doing when I started trading, if I had myself to teach me, 8 years ago or whatever it was, um, what I would have done is not worried about trading actual money, or maybe just not large amounts of it. I would have had just like $100 just to trade, just to learn on, or use like a demo account, which is like fake trading, right? And I would have learned how to trade first. I would have done the work, built my trading method, my algorithm. I would have spent the time having that tested. And then what I would have had like maybe a small amount of money or a demo, like a fake account, and I would have traded that for a period of time. I prefer like a small amount of money rather than a demo account for psychological reasons. Having an actual $50 on an exchange is going to be mentally a little bit different than a paper trade fake account. That's my own thing, demo account might work for you, whatever. But the point here is that that's what I would have done. I wouldn't worry about, oh, I need to wait for all this money to come in so I can trade it. Because here's the thing. Now, our system, if you're going to do what I did, and my system is based on what I did, if you are going to do that of your own choice, after you've done your own research, after you have spoken with your licensed investment advisor, because we don't give investment advice, but if you were going to do what I did, you wouldn't need money for like, I don't know, a few months, half a year. I mean, it depends how long it takes you to build your algorithm. And then you wouldn't need a lot of money. You'd only need enough money just to test it. And some people are profitable within 12 months. It happens. Um, Most people are not. However, most people who are not profitable within 12 months have just been kind of learning on their own. They're looking at YouTube channels. They're just getting information as best they can, right? So what we have is at least I'm sharing what I did. And because I'm sharing what I did, then you might have a chance at kind of doing this a little bit more quickly and a little bit smarter. But again, that's all based on your own research. And like I said, talk to your investment advisor and talk to whoever you talk to. We do have the gorilla on, so I figured I'll let the gorilla give us that grand send off, and then we will head over to the private where V, you've got some drips today, don't you?
Oh man, heavy, heavy today.
So just a reminder, drips are where we have the gorilla, and as I said this at the very beginning of the show, the gorilla usually once a week. Sometimes we don't get information for a couple weeks because sometimes you just don't get the data. We don't just make stuff up so we can make it a weekly show. Generally 4 times a month or so, 3 or 4 times, we get data from on high because the gorilla deals, you deal with like billionaires, you make big deals, precious metals, crypto.
Yep.
You're talking to the people that like know what's up because they're
institutional money. And
institutional
those
money.
guys care where that money goes.
Well, yeah, because it's not just their money,
Yeah.
it's like, I mean, oh, sure, if it's just like a sovereign fund, technically, but it's OPM, it's like other people's money. These people are risking billions of dollars, so you better believe they're going to be a lot smarter with their money than just some like, dude like me who's trading maybe 5, 6, 7 figure, whatever it is I'm trading at the time. So, and we get that data, like say 3, 4 times a month. It's on Algo Factory. Zap it at the bottom of the screen. Got the website there. V, please give us a send off.
Absolutely. For all you guys listening in right now, if you're wondering if this is for you, let me explain something to you. This is for you. This is for you. It's not going to be the easiest thing you did. It's going to be one of the most hardest thing you did, but it's going to be one of the most rewarding, life-changing things that you will ever do, in the sense that it will allow you to work from anywhere in the world and make a profit, make a living. And that's a versatile tool. That's a versatile, absolutely powerful weapon that you have in your hands. So without, any further ado, listen, guys, join us and be a part of this amazing, amazing community of traders where we all help each other become the best that we can possibly be and make a positive impact for us and for our families. All right, Cowboy, let's get into it.